Very good morning to you, brothers and sisters. Suki Hotu. They say in Christmas, you see Santa Claus. Chinese New Year, you see Charlie Chia. We call him the Happy New Year man. We want to talk about happiness. Now you look at this venerable Matthew Ricard. It's a Lama in the Vajrayana tradition. And he has been labeled as the happiest man in the world. But he owns nothing. He didn't have lots of money. He didn't have lots of possessions and luxuries. And he lived a very simple life. Yet, in his mind, he's free. In his mind, he's liberated. In his mind, he's free from stress and pain. And once you get this harmony, this blissfulness inside our minds, it is automatic. It is said to be happiness in the lasting effect for a long, long time. And we want to be like him, but we don't want to renounce. So, can we also practice the same path as an ordinary lay person and yet achieve the level of happiness that is found in his mind? We are all involved in a rat race because we compare. And that is the weakness in a lot of us. We tend to compare with each other. You compare with your siblings, you compare with your friends, you compare with your colleagues. And especially during Chinese New Year, you really have to prepare yourself. Because there's a lot of comparison when you meet up with your old friends, your old relatives, your old cousins, your old colleagues. And then you see the success, you see the failures, and then you start to compare yourself. And at the back of your mind, some of us then get stressful, then get unhappy. In fact, in China now, they practice classes before Chinese New Year. You have to attend class before Chinese New Year. And then prepare yourself for a series of questions that is going to ask. 你结婚了没有？还没有孩子啊？你进步了没有？ or you are good in your studies, or you have actually got promotions. Then you have been taught how to avoid, how to defray some of these very pertinent and you can say irritative questions. So, the reason why we are in this predicament is because we compare. And the moment we start to compare, then you are in a race. And this common word called the rat race will then seep into our lives. So don't compare, because each and every one of us is a capacity of our own. Even when we are doing meditation, also don't compare. A lot of us, when we meditate, and everybody is meditating, 5 minutes later, tak boleh tahan, open your eyes, look around, wow, still meditating. So how come I cannot, he can? Well, each of us have different capacity. Some of us are already meditating in our past lives already. So this life only continues saja. For some of us are for the first time closing our eyes and trying to focus our minds. Then of course our capacity is less. So each and one of us has also our amount of abilities and amount of efforts, amount of, they call it fortune. But as long as we don't compare, we are at peace. So again, during this period, we must adopt a very equanimous mind. Equanimous mind means you don't get shaken. You remain stable throughout this whole period. Now, in this period also, we do have a lot of wishes for health, wishes for wealth, wishes for friendship, and wishes for a bliss. We want to be happy. We want to wish each other happy, and we also want to be happy ourselves. And the Buddha in the Dhammapada verse 202 has said this very clearly, that yes, health is the greatest gift. Contentment is the greatest wealth. A trusted friend is the best relative. And nirvana is the greatest bliss. Nirvana means you have learned how to detach. You have learned how to renounce. You have learned how to simplify your life. Declutter your mind. Declutter your desires. And you'll find that it sets in inside us a sense of good bliss, a sense of happiness. And this happiness is actually based on nothingness. You own nothing, yet you are still happy. You desire nothing, yet you are still happy. You own nothing, yet you are still happy. That is called nibbanic bliss. In other words, you are no longer attached, no longer craving for existence, for non-existence, and for sensual pleasures. And once you eradicate this craving, inside the enlightenment, you feel light, you feel liberated, you feel free. And with that kind of mind, you are said to have what we call nibbanic bliss. And thus with that lightedness of the mind, or freedom of the mind, liberation of the mind, you no longer crave. That is a cessation of craving. And it is in our Noble Truth. The Four Noble Truths says there is suffering or unsatisfactoriness. And the unsatisfactoriness is caused by your craving. Second Noble Truth. And the Third Noble Truth says that if you can cease from craving, then that will be the cessation of suffering. Of course, semua ini senang cakap tapi susah buat. That's why he gave us the Fourth Noble Truth. The path, the methodology, the way that you practice that will lead to the cessation of craving and then the cessation of suffering. So it's very clear, the Four Noble Truths. So every time when we face with any difficulties, even during this period of time, it's always wise to think like this and say, yes, I am not happy. Yes, I am in states of misery. Or yes, I am very, unfortunate. But what was the cause for your unfortunate? What was the cause for your unhappiness? Is that you must be attached to something that you don't want to change. You don't want change. You want to continue like this. You want to be beautiful all the time. You want to be healthy all the time. You want to be alive and happy and enjoying all the time. But all these are impermanent phenomena which will not last. It's only an episode. It's only a chapter in our lives. And because we understand, and because our mind is able to say, yes, since there is this craving, and I'm able to say, well, let it go. 放开, 放下. Then you find yourself become lighter and lighter. And you feel more peaceful. So in your desires to celebrate on a grand scale, and yet sometimes you cannot afford it, yet sometimes you do not have the means to enjoy it, never mind. Be contented and simple. And contentment is actually your greatest wealth. When you are contented, you feel rich, you feel fortunate, and you feel happy. So practice of contentment, then you will feel the liberation of the mind. Of course, happiness is what we are all looking for. And in a lot of practices, in every religious denominations, you find that what are they looking for? They are looking for a way to happiness. But happiness can also be very fleeting and can escape your grasp. You try and grasp it, it does last for a while. but it disappears when the condition change. When the object that you are grasping slowly becomes impermanent and ceases and change. And thus, because of the changes, you become unhappy. That happiness that you accrue from the attachment will then ceases and become fleeting. You buy a new car, you have a new house, but eventually you find that the house becomes old. You find that the car is now no longer able to perform according to what you desire. Then that happiness of owning a car will then be fleeting and disappear. It's like when we are young, we tell our parents that if you can buy me a bicycle, I will be very happy. And when your parents bought you your first bicycle, you will then polish it every day. Make sure everything kilat. After a few months, then you polish once a week. After a few years, you polish only once a year, maybe before Chinese New Year, spring cleaning. And after that, the bicycle never get polished anymore. That happiness fleets. So we are not looking for that type of happiness. Happiness that is attached to something material or possessions, which gives us that joy for that time being, but unfortunately, changes will take place. And it's a fact that if we cannot manage change in our life, we cannot accept change in our life, our mind will always be in states of unsatisfactoriness, called dukkha. Only and only when we can say, well, change is natural. Everything changes. I change from a young person to an old person, and later on I can't even eat or bite a sugar cane. No more teeth, cannot bite already. But you cannot be attached to that phenomena and says, I don't want you to change. I want you to continue to have that strong teeth, able to run 100 meters in 10.5 seconds, but you can't. It is natural. It's a process that we all are faced with. So if we can accept this as a natural process, then where is the unsatisfactoriness? Where is the dukkha in our minds? It disappears. So that is the happiness that we are looking for. That we are able to understand, we are able to realize, developing the right understanding of phenomena and their characteristics called anicca, anatta, dukkha. That means you realize that all phenomena are impermanent. And there is no permanent phenomena or entity that you can grasp and hold and say, don't change. I don't want you to change. Don't even change your mind also. But if we are attached to something which we don't want to change, but it changed, then it will give rise to unsatisfactoriness. Dukkha. Anicca, impermanent. Anatta, no permanentness about any phenomena. And dukkha is when you are attached to something which you don't want to change, then your mind will turn into disappointment. But if you are able to accept the changes that is taking place around you, then your mind will always be free, your mind will always be at peace, your mind will always be in equanimity. And that is the happiness that we are talking about. So when we talk about gross national happiness, it doesn't mean Bhutan, the people in Bhutan were rich. The Bhutanese are simple people. The Bhutanese are contented people. The Bhutanese craves for very little possessions. They live in natural environments. They live in simple ways of life. And they develop the highest gross national happiness. So now we don't measure the wealth of a country by their GDP. We measure it by GNP. That means how happy is the country? What is in the minds of the people of the country? And we did mention about harmony in our tagline. But it is love alone that will hold people in unity and harmony. So when we come to this tagline, we must understand that there is relationship that has to be developed. There is this unifying occasions that we should participate in order for that we can come together so that we can rejoice and reunite our relationships. And that's why we will come back to why Chinese New Year is such a grand occasion. And it is for this purpose. In China, hundreds of millions are actually traveling now. The trains are jammed. The transport is in disarray. And everybody is rushing to get home, to fulfill this objective, to develop that sense of unity, to reunite with your family, and last, to also develop what we call happiness. Because you are going to be very happy when you are together. So wherever there is harmony, joy is present. Wherever there's a feeling of harmony, happiness is found. Where there is unity, growth is present. Wherever there is a feeling of unity, love is found. This is a very good quotation. So therefore, these values of unity, respect, happiness, pride, love, peace, and tolerance are some of the good values that we should imbue into whatever cultural practice or celebration of occasions. Happy New Year, 2023. It's another year. Of course, we measure ourselves in the lunar calendar, whereas the Gregorian calendar, which is January, February, March, is actually, we call it the solar. So when you have the Lunar New Year, it goes in a cycle. And every year within that cycle itself, you come one full round. Of course, some of them do have what we call a missed beat, we call it. That's why we have a leap month. In Gregorian calendar, we have leap year. But in Chinese calendar or lunar calendar, we have leap month. So some years we have a double month of the same month. So this year, our Zhenye Chui will come on the 22nd of January. Of course, it goes. And in another 3 years' time, I think we are going to celebrate together with Hari Raya. So the Kongsi Raya is coming back again. And then the whole country will be paralyzed. At least now, half work, half don't work. When you come to that occasion, nobody works. This is a most common. You see it on banners, you see it on all over the place. And it's also the most common wish for each other. 恭喜发财. But you look at this word. These words, 恭喜发财, is actually wishing you to enlarge your wealth. So again, there is this word wealth here, 发财. So they take this occasion to enhance your positivity about all the things that you do in order to be prosperous. I will explain a little bit more later on about wealth, about 发财. And it is an occasion where we meet, we gather, we have lots of reunions, we visit our families, we visit our parents, and especially on the New Year's Eve, the Chinese New Year Eve, 3-4, where we have our 团圆饭. Now, this is a very important occasion. I think no matter what, you need to make it for this occasion. And sometimes, certain families, when their families are large, they take this and what do you call upon themselves to wait for each and everyone to be present before they do the famous, what we call lo sang. Now the act of doing yi sang or lo sang is already representing our tagline, unity in harmony. Is that we together will come and make an effort to make each other's happy and prosperous. And it is a joint effort. No one should be left behind. And everybody should come together from near and far. Of course, when you lo sang, you must have certain rituals. Must push it as high as possible, but don't drop on your head. And you also have to shout. So what do you shout? Voila! Oh, fa cai, very important. Huh? So again, we say, hey, since we are going to practice it in the Buddhist sense, wealth is no good. Fa cai is evil. Wealth is going to get you into a lot of trouble. So don't want to be rich. You want to renounce, you want to give up. Huh? Again, you have to have a compromise here already, right? Now, I always have a joy to have my family reunion. Though it is small family, I have 3 children. I have an aged mother. And of course, recently, I added a new member of our family, which is my daughter-in-law. And 2 months ago, I added another one more in my family, which is my grandson. So hopefully this year, ada lagi satu in the picture. But it is an occasion where we all gather in unity and in harmony. And you don't see each other, what you call any one of them there, like very geram now, want to low the sang, or want to be standing near you, or want to stand far or hide behind some walls. No. Everybody is happy. Everybody is united. Everybody is in perfect harmony. This is what we call the happy family. And this is what we intend to invite each and every one of you, that we have to have that spirit in our mind, is that we need to unite ourselves. No matter how much disagreements, no matter how much unhappy occasions that we have been faced with during the year. But when this occasion comes, let's forget and let's forgive. Why do we do all this? It's because it's all in the pursuit of happiness. We are all looking for an opportunity, and that's the reason why we are here. Why are we here in a Buddhist center, trying to learn the tenets of the Buddha's teachings? Is to find a way and a methodology to resolve our unsatisfactoriness and to reduce this unsatisfactoriness, and then at the opposite or the other way is to increase our happiness. A lot of people criticize us Buddhists. We always say, you all Buddhists always talk about suffering, suffering, suffering. I think we try to avoid that word. We say happy, happy, happy. We are all happy people and we are all seeking for happiness. And the reason why we are happy is because we reduce suffering. We minimize suffering. And of course, hopefully we eradicate suffering later. Now we have a very important discourse to understand. And this discourse, or the sutta that is given by the Buddha, is very apt for this occasion. And it's called Mangala Sutta, which is the discourse on blessings. I think a lot of us make it a point. On Chinese New Year Eve, before the clock strikes 12, you must be in one temple or so. And some even go to many. Want to share what they call battery power for the year. And in China, there are certain temples where they close the gates first. Don't allow anybody in before 12. And everybody will be waiting outside with their joysticks. And then the moment the clock strikes 12, the doors opens, the gates open, and you see them rushing. And to be the first one to plant their joysticks into the urn, then can fa chai. This is a ritual. But then when we talk about why are you doing this, is that you are seeking for blessings on the Chinese New Year Eve or on the New Year's Day in the morning. And some of our families, the first thing, they don't greet the family members first. They go to the temple first, do their prayers, make their puja, and then only go back and do the serving of the tea. And I also want to emphasize on the tea ceremony, which is a very important practice, which has been in a lot of families, but some families are slowly picking it up. Now, during this, why this sutra was out is because there was a sort of like a debate in the heavens. And the devas were saying, hey, a lot of people, a lot of humans come and ask us for blessing. We ourselves also don't know what is blessing. And why are they asking us for blessings? So they send one deva. They says, okay, you represent us. You go down and meet up with the Buddha and ask the Buddha this question: what is blessing and what is the highest blessing? Of course, the Mangala Sutta began with that verse and says, on that occasion, a deva appeared in the Jetavana grove in Sarasvati. And by his mere presence, illuminated the whole Jetavana grove. That means that was a very shining deva. A deva which emits a lot of light. So we have devas who emit light, we have devas who emit perfumes and fragrance, we have devas who emit music. And when they are in their presence, you will hear music, or you will feel, you will smell a lot of fragrance. But this deva is the light deva, where it emits a lot of light from their energy. The deva's physical form, it depends on their form. Some forms emit a lot of light. Some forms emit a lot of fragrance. Some forms emit a lot of music and sound. So by his mere presence, he appeared, he illuminated the whole Jetavana grove. If it happens today, then we say, wow, alien from outer space. Devas are aliens, in that sense. Now, in this Mangala Sutta itself, there is a number of verses, which I will go into more detail later, where you support your father, you have morally uncomplicated occupations, you have liberality in your life, you restrain in drinking and intoxicating yourself, you have diligence in your work, humility, gratitude, and then having patience. I'm going to talk a little bit more later. But the best blessing that you can seek is actually seek the blessings of your guru and your parents. That means your parents, which is actually, you owe a lot to them. They are the one who brought you up. They are the one who provides for you. They are one who actually supports you through thick and thin. Even when you are down, they will beg, borrow, or steal in order to support you. And they are your teachers. And not necessarily your school teachers, but it could be your leaders, it could be your masters, it could be your bosses. And these gurus, whom you seek guidance from, they are your sifu. You pay respects by seeking blessings from them. And it's good that on this occasion, go before them and serve a cup of tea and wish them. Of course, there is a list of words that you must say. If you are Hokkien, you say in Hokkien. If you are Teochew, you say in Teochew. And a lot of young people do not know how to say. Just go there, Happy New Year. But there are many words which eventually I will go through a list of them for you afterwards. Practice lesson today. What to say and what not to say. And after serving tea, you then provide an ang pao. Though they may not need the money, but it is a symbol of respect, symbol of gratitude, symbol of humility, that you kneel on the floor. And then you say those good words. And wishing them good health, wishing them having a smooth life, wishing them long life. And of course, in turn, the parents will then wish back. May you continue to be happy, may you continue to be prosperous, may you, what you call, fa cai. So there is a reciprocity in this sense. Once you have done that to your elders, then you become the elders. And your children will then have to kneel before you and serve you tea. And of course, if you have a lot of relatives, senior relatives, then they will line up and then you serve your tea. And this tea ceremony sometimes takes a little bit of time, but it is very meaningful and you all feel very fulfilling at the end of this practice. Now, on this occasion also, not only do you think about your relatives, where you pay your respects, you also have to think about your friends. And thus, be kind and be caring. And that's when you start to think about them. As I said earlier, that it is practiced in a lot of families. Just before Chinese New Year, then they will say, okay, who shall I pay my respect to? And before I visit, do I send a gift? A Chinese New Year gift or a Chinese New Year hamper or some goodies to their house first so that they can prepare themselves for the celebration. And then on the Chinese New Year day itself, then you go and pay the visit and pay your respects and serve your tea. So it is a lot of thinking process. And also at the same time, you also think about your friends, your very good friends. What shall I buy for them? Shall I spare some cookies? Shall I buy some extras? Shall I send it over to the house? And that's where a lot of movements and a lot of goodwill, a lot of practice of friendship. And thus, you also think about the charities, that there will be orphans in the homes. There will be, the handicapped who will not be able to have a home to go to. Then prepare for them their reunion, prepare for them their dinner, prepare for them their clothes, their New Year clothes. And all this comes with a lot of thoughts. And that is when, again, the practice of be caring and be kind or be generous. If you want others to be happy, then practice compassion. And if you want to be happy yourself also, then practice compassion. The Dalai Lama has said this, and he's have a lot of emphasis on compassion, that you may celebrate well, but there are others who may be deprived. There are others who may not have a chance even to have their dinner on that night itself. So it's time that you look around and see whom you can actually help, whom you can contribute, whom you can be generous and kind. And then send over. And if possible, some of your friends who are not able to go back, invite them to your homes for the reunion. So being friendly to others is a very important quality in life. Because he who gives is beautiful. Although it's hard to give, but that's what is hard to do. Endures painful, ill-spoken words. His secrets he yells to you, your great good friends. Your secrets he keeps. When misfortune strike, he doesn't abandon you. When you are down and out, doesn't look down on you. A person is who these traits are found is a friend to be cultivated by anyone wanting a friend. Anguttara Nikaya 7.35. And it is again a good effort for you to seek out your friends. Who are your BFF? Best friend forever. And then eventually do something in order to renew your friendship. And what best is to actually send them a gift before the Chinese New Year. So best friends are like diamonds, precious and rare. So keep it up, lift them down, and then do whatever you have to do. And on the occasion itself, invite them for a meal. Have a reunion with them if you can. Not only reunion with your families, reunion with your friends. And most of us have even reunion for your classmates, your U-mates, even your alumni, your ex-colleagues. It's a time to call them up and say, hey, why not we have a dinner together to celebrate this occasion and to renew the bonds of our friendship. And I always take it upon myself that I will invite all the good friends, buddies we call them, that we will have a grand dinner. The parents will sit on one table and the children will be on the other. And it's also a time to visit each other. Visiting doesn't mean troubling others. Visiting means respecting and what you call gratitude. And also, out of respect, you then bring along some gifts as you visit. Now, you not only visit, you also get wishes from others, and you crossed cultural or cross race, and you always find that the royalties are the first to post their greetings for you. And not only do the royalties post greetings to you, your Malay friends, your Indian friends, and this is also a time to have a lot of muhibah, a lot of goodwill. And that's where unity, because it promotes unity and it promotes racial harmony, that we tolerate, we understand, we have a lot of patience. And when we have these qualities within us, definitely the harmony and the unity, even within the country, will then be promoted. And also remember to practice your sublime states or the Brahma Vihara. Have a lot of loving kindness. Practice a lot of caring for others. Practice a lot of compassion. And have a lot of altruistic joy, mudita. Mudita means when you hear and sit down and you talk and the other person is very successful during the year, be happy for them. Rejoice in their happiness. And then, of course, remain equanimous. Be stable. Don't get easily destabilized. Don't get easily affected in your minds. Whenever you see something which is not conducive, keep your patience, keep your understanding, and keep your tolerance. So patience, tolerance, and understanding are again three very great wise attitudes that we develop. And lastly, of course, remember your Four Noble Truths. I already mentioned earlier about the unsatisfactoriness. If there ever arise, you will then realize that it is caused by something which you don't want to change. And therefore you say, okay, since I know the cause, I'm prepared to let go of the cause. That cause will then disappear. When the cause disappears, the unsatisfactoriness or unhappiness will then disappear. So if you meet with any unsatisfactoriness during this period, always remember this formula. This is the formula of our life. And then when we apply it, we will find that all the problems will be resolved. All the misunderstandings will be resolved. The Noble Eightfold Path is how we practiced it. Right understanding, right thoughts, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Then, of course, right speech. Say the right words. Do the right action. Right? And understand the characteristics of all phenomena. Anicca, anatta, dukkha. I've already explained to you earlier. And of course, understand these 8 worldly conditions. Whenever there's gain, there will be loss. But when there's loss, don't worry. You will gain one day because it's a rise and fall. Anything that goes up will come down. Anything that goes down will come up again. So if you are unsuccessful, don't worry. One day you'll be successful again. Keep your mind stable and firm. If there is honor and dishonor, there is always this balance, right? When you are having a lot of praise, don't be too big-headed, because when all this praise disappears and fades, the blame will come. But when you have been blamed, don't worry, because one day you will be appreciated for your qualities. Then, of course, when there's happiness and sorrow. Life is not like what you call sorrow all the time, and life is not happiness all the time. You are in these fleeting moments and endure each moment as it arises. And that's why the concept of living now. At that now, the present moment is what matters the most. Don't worry about your past because it's past and gone. Don't speculate about the future because it's yet to come. What matters most in our life is what we are experiencing now. Be happy. And we mentioned just now about simplicity. Simplicity of life in Bhutan. And that's when you have simple and content, then you actually imbue yourself with a lot of peacefulness, less craving, more what you call stability. And you have less stress. And I think stress is the greatest problem that we face in our lives, right? So contentment is being at peace with what you are now and embracing the changes for your future. If your friends were very successful, if everybody is one tier above you, doesn't matter. Be contented with what you have. When we look at a bottle with half filled with water, you can either call it half empty or you can call it half full. That depends on your state of mind. And in the practice of the Buddha's teaching, we are always talking about the mind. How we develop and cultivate our mind. Our mind will be at peace when you have the right methodology. So if you are positive, you are always looking forward, you will always be experiencing a lot of happiness and peacefulness. And as we mentioned earlier about gratitude, this is also an occasion to practice a lot of gratitude. When you pay your respect to your parents, it's out of gratitude too. You enjoyed their presence. You enjoyed what they have done for you. And you are now very grateful and you would like to repay back. And what little gesture that can actually make them happy is that when you come before them and wish them well. So not only gratitude to your parents, you also have gratitude to your teachers, gratitude to your employers, your spiritual guides, your leaders, even your government leaders of the country. And lastly, of course, your adversary. They actually provide you the lesson to improve. If not because of adversary, you wouldn't have changed. You wouldn't have improved for the better. So they become very important objects of gratitude. And it is also during this period we target them. We sit down and think, who shall I go and visit? Who shall I go and send a text? Especially on the Chinese New Year Eve, the WhatsApp is going to be jammed by all of us if we think like that. But doesn't matter. Even if you have to wake up in 3 o'clock in the morning and do it when the lines are better, do it at 3 o'clock and send the messages out. The joy that you receive from a person who you have done something or help, and then they send a message wishing you and thanking you and express their gratitude. Whoa, that is the best Chinese New Year that you will feel. And I said, living now, living in the present, as you live from moments to moments, is the truest path, right? And learn to forgive others. Forgive people who have done something wrong to you. And on that occasion, wish them. Thus, you have that metta inside you that you always like to wish others well, no matter who they are. Whether it is your friend, whether it's an enemy, always wish them well and happy. So not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve your peace of mind. When you forgive, you feel more peaceful. You feel more relief. So forgiveness is a gift to yourself. It frees you from your past experience. It frees you from your past relationships, which may not be good. It allows you to live in the present time. So when you forgive yourself and forgive others, you are then indeed free. So I mentioned to you about the blessings where you see all temples are packed on the New Year's Eve, on the New Year's morning, and we make it a point to visit. I remember when I was young, my parents would always bring me to the Cheng Hun Teng temple in Malacca. My goodness, you can't enter. You will be crying inside. The smoke from the incense and the joss sticks. Of course, they don't use the incense that we use. They use joss stick that produce the most smoke. And they carry it all over the place, and when you are standing beside, you will be blurred with tears. But it's fun. But it's worthwhile. But it is symbolic that you like to start the new year afresh. Forgive your past. Forgive yourself in your past. And look forward for the future, for the better times. So I mentioned to you about the Mangala Sutta. So let us read the Mangala Sutta and make it more meaningful in our celebrations now. Bahudeva Manusacha Mangalani Achintayom Akanka Mana Sotanam Bruhi Mangala Muttamam. Many deities and men yearning after good have pondered on blessings. Pray, tell me the highest blessings. This is from the Deva to the Buddha. And the Buddha answered, Asevana cha balanang, panditanang cha sevana, pujya cha pujaniyanang, etang mangala muttamam. Not to associate with the fools, to associate with the wise, and honor those who are worthy of honor. This is the highest blessings. If you can do this, you will feel very blessed. Matta pitu upatanang, putta darasa sanggaho, anakula cha kamanta, etang mangala muttamam. The support of father and mother, the cherishing of wife and children, and peaceful occupations. This is the highest blessings. Danang cha dhammacharya cha, natakanang cha sanggaho, anawajani kamani, etang mangala muttamam. Liberality, righteous conduct, helping of relatives, and blameless actions. This is the highest blessings. Kanti cha suvachasatta, samana nancha dasanang, kalena dhamma sakancha, etang mangala muttamam. Patience, obedience, sight of the samanas, and religious discussions at due season. This is the highest blessing. So this pre-Chinese New Year Dhamma session falls under religious discussions at due season, preparing yourself to celebrate in the most meaningful way. So you notice that whatever we have mentioned as earlier, that in order to invoke blessings upon yourself during this period of time, it's not just the planting of joss sticks, but to carry out these virtues and these actions. And then eventually you will feel very blessed after that. Especially as I mentioned about the tea ceremonies, the gathering of your relatives for the reunions, and the visiting of your friends and renewing of your friendships. All this falls under what the Buddha says, the highest blessings. But then when we always 恭喜发财, then we talk about wealth. That means we are wishing each other's wealth. So I want to clarify this so that we do not feel the guilt of saying, hey, as a Buddhist, shall we wish each other fa cai, rather than may you be well and happy. But when we say this, do you think it's wrong to pursue wealth? We are all not the Sangha members. We have not renounced. We are still laymen. We are still practicing our careers and our business. And we are involved in a layman's life. And thus, we have an objective to provide for our families, provide for our community, and at the same time, pursue the wealth in order to be able to do some other chores and charities. And that's why I always say, no, it's not wrong to pursue, because the Buddha has also several suttas that actually advise how you can accumulate your wealth and how you can spend your wealth and manage your wealth, and at the same time, how to use your wealth with the right purpose. In other words, out of compassion, if you are wealthy and you can spare, then the spare goes to a charity, to a, what you call a religious organization, or to do dana. We call it dana, means contributions. And when you give, you feel fulfilled. You feel happy that you have fulfilled a mission, and your wealth becomes very meaningful. And that the Buddha never discouraged. And therefore, when we wish each other's progress, wish each other's success in your business, success in your life, success in your career, it is perfectly in order. There is no negativities about this practice. So it is not wrong, because wealth is not evil in itself. Because when someone is rich, doesn't mean that he's a bad person. It is not wrong to want to be rich, but for the right reason, for the right purpose. Of course, wealth, if not managed well, can be dangerous. That people have been getting into a lot of trouble just because of the desire for wealth and their infatuation with wealth. And that destroys them. And wealth can destroy a lot of people. But if you manage it well and you do it well, then you will be happy. Ukko loto anito atito tahadaso. The world is never satisfied and is never a slave to craving. Now, what he means in this sutta is that you may pursue wealth, but you must understand that wealth is a bottomless pit. Today, you say, if I own 1 million, I'm happy. But when you have your first million, you say, I want my second. Then you want your 10th. Then you want your... It's like when I say, if I own a bicycle, I'm the happiest person in the world. When you get your bicycle, you say, wow, if got 2 wheels, can carry people, then I'll be happy. So motorbike. And after that, you want to buy a car, 4 wheels, then can carry more people. And then after that, you say, car not good enough. Must buy Lamborghini, must buy Ferrari. And then after that, no, must buy helicopter. And then after that, must jet plane. After that, must like, what do we call Elon Musk, go to the space. So it's a bottomless pit. So it's where we find our levels of contentment, find our levels of satisfactoriness. So the Buddha never encouraged poverty, because the Buddha spoke of poverty as a suffering, as a being of, as a suffering in the world. Because it is amazing that he understood the importance of having earnings or wealth as an essential sector in every layman's happiness. And I think the Sasana also understands this, that if everybody becomes a monk, then who is going to support them? And the Buddha has actually developed two tiers. 2 tiers, one for the layman and one for the renunciate. And they are symbiotic. They support each other. In other words, the layman will then do their business, creates their wealth, and with their spare and generosity, they provide for the renunciate, who have no time to do all these things. But the renunciate, based on this support, then develop their wisdom, develop their knowledge, develop their ways, their good ways, and then impart upon them and expound them to the layman. So there is a cross support. And this is a very important pillars of the Sasana society that we are developing and the community that we are developing. So as laymen, if we need to accumulate and pursue wealth, go ahead, but do with the rightful occupations and also do it with a purpose in your life. So I will end with some nice words to say. So when you are practicing tonight, if you can get hold of some of this, then practice and say it with a lot of sincerity. Of course, the first one is 恭喜发财. That one very easy to say, right? Now the second one is when you are meeting with your your business clients. 生意兴隆 prosperous business, right? 财源广进 wealth sources always come. And 大展宏图 realize one's ambition. So when you meet with business people, sometimes use these good words to say. Then what do you say to your friends and family? 幸福安康. That means may you always have peace, may you always have happiness. Of course, there is one where if you want to talk about family, then 合家欢乐. That means happiness for the whole family. And 吉祥如意 is may there be good luck and life according to your wishes. For colleagues, then you say 工作顺利. May your work go smoothly. If you are talking about career and wishing them goodness in their career, 事业有成. And then 马到成功, success immediately upon your arrival. 步步高升, also another good words to say, right? So learn by heart. After that, then you put it inside your mobile phone, and then okay, this one what shall I say? This one what shall I say? Then you coin the whole sentence. Now, when you wish the kids and students 学习进步, that means wishing them progress in their studies. 学以优成, that means you were what you call 学业优成, it means may you progressed in your academic. And 金榜第名, success in the examination. Of course, popular one is 大吉大利, 大吉大利, lots of luck and lots of profits. 心想事成, may all your wishes come true. 万事如意, may all go well with you. 身体健康, that one wish you a lot of good health. And then 年年有余, of course you don't give the fish lah. But it says surplus year after year, 年年有余. Of course, you may want to coin it the whole sentence. Then 祝你新年快乐，身体健康. That means wishing you a happy Chinese New Year and good health always. And then 祝你新春快乐，阖家幸福. That means wish you a happy New Year, Chinese New Year, and a happy family. And then 祝你新年快乐，大吉大利，万事如意. That one you put in more. You see if that one very important one must be longer a bit lah. And then 祝你新年快乐，身体健康，家庭幸福，工作顺利啊！哇 long one that one for the very important one VVIP. So wishing you a happy new year, good health, happy families, a smooth work and success everything. 发财发财. Of course, the one is wish you happiness and prosperity, but give me a red 红包. 恭喜发财，红包拿来. So with this, I wish you all 恭喜发财，年年有余啊，身体健康，幸福啊，安康。